Nick Woltemade is quietly becoming one of the most clinical strikers in the Premier League, and nobody's talking about it. On his Premier League debut, boom, he scores the winner.
Delivers the ball for Woltemade! Nick Woltemade! Newcastle's record signing!
First Champions League appearance, another goal. The man has scored in 4 of his 5 starts between September and October. For a 23-year-old arriving in a new league, in a new country, at a club that just lost their talisman to Liverpool, this isn't just good form. This is scary. While everyone's been obsessing over Alexander Isak's British record move to Anfield, Newcastle quietly pulled off one of the smartest pieces of business in recent memory. They dropped £69 million on a 6'6" German striker from Stuttgart, and the guys hit the ground sprinting. He's become the first Newcastle player to score on both his Premier League and Champions League debuts. Let that sink in. Not even Alan Shearer did that. But here's the thing that should terrify the rest of the league. Woltemade isn't just filling Isak's boots. He might be better suited for what Eddie Howe needs. His hold-up play is elite. His aerial presence is unmatched, and when he gets half a yard in the box, he's lethal. That penalty against Nottingham Forest.
Hands on hips, Woltemade, Gallagher end. Nick Woltemade into the top corner. What a confident penalty.
Ice cold. The composure, the technique. It's like he's been doing this in England for years, not weeks. The scary truth? While Liverpool spent $125 million on Isak, Newcastle might have found a long-term striker who's actually the better fit for their system, and he cost them half the price. Woltemade's not just a replacement, he's an upgrade in the making. But to understand why Newcastle fans should be buzzing about this kid, and why the rest of the Premier League should be worried, we need to go back to where it all started. Back to Stuttgart. Back to where a lanky German teenager began his journey to becoming one of Europe's most exciting strikers. Woltemade was born and raised in Stuttgart, Germany, a city with football running through its veins. VfB Stuttgart wasn't just the local club, it was the dream. And for young Nick, that dream became reality when he joined their youth academy as a kid. But here's the thing about being a tall, lanky teenager trying to make it as a striker. Coaches don't always know what to do with you. You're too big, too slow, not quick enough off the mark. Woltemade heard it all. But what separated him from the rest was his technical ability. For a guy who's 6'6", he moved like he was 5'9". His first touch was clean, his movement in the box was intelligent, and most importantly, he had that striker's instinct, that thing you can't teach. When the ball came into the box, he knew where to be. He wasn't just hoping for chances, he was hunting them. By the time he was 18, Woltemade was tearing through Stuttgart's youth ranks. The coaches saw something special, a striker who could dominate physically, but also link up play. Someone who wasn't just a target man, but a complete forward. In 2020, at just 18 years old, he signed his first professional contract with Stuttgart. The kid from the academy was now training with the first team. The dream was becoming real. Woltemade made his Bundesliga debut in the 2020-21 season. But let's be honest, it wasn't smooth sailing. He was raw, still figuring out his body, still learning how to use his size as a weapon rather than a weakness. Stuttgart were yo-yoing between survival battles and mid-table mediocrity. Game time was limited, opportunities were scarce, but when he did get his chances, you could see the potential. A goal here, an assist there, flashes of brilliance that made you think, okay, this kid's got something. The real breakthrough came in the 2023-24 season when Stuttgart appointed Sebastian Hoeneß as manager. Hoeneß loved strikers who could do it all: press, hold up, finish, create. And Woltemade, he fit that profile perfectly. Suddenly, he wasn't just a backup option, he was a starter. And boy, did he deliver. He bagged 12 goals and 7 assists in the Bundesliga that season. Stuttgart finished 6th, their best campaign in years, and Woltemade was at the heart of it all. What made him special wasn't just the goals, it was how he played. In a league obsessed with high pressing and quick transitions, Woltemade became the perfect modern striker. He'd drop deep to collect the ball, drag defenders out of position, then explode into the box when the crosses came in. Defenders didn't know whether to follow him or stay put, and when they hesitated, boom, he was gone. His partnership with Stuttgart's wingers was chef's kiss. They'd whip in crosses and Woltemade would attack them like his life depended on it. But here's where it gets interesting. Despite his success, he was still flying under the radar. Everyone was talking about Harry Kane at Bayern, Victor Boniface at Leverkusen, Sergio Guirassy at Stuttgart before he left. Woltemade, he was the guy scouts were quietly putting on their shortlists. The hidden gem, the one nobody was paying attention to until it was too late. When Alexander Isak's move to Liverpool started heating up in the summer of 2025, Newcastle knew they had a problem. Callum Wilson had already left for West Ham. Losing Isak meant losing 25-plus goals a season. Eddie Howe needed a replacement fast, and not just any replacement. He needed someone who could hit the ground running, someone who fit his system, someone who wouldn't crumble under the pressure of replacing a club legend. Enter Nick Woltemade. Newcastle's recruitment team had been tracking him for months. They loved everything about him. The physicality, the technique, the work rate, the age profile. At 23, he was entering his prime. And at £69 million, he was expensive. Yes, but not crazy money in today's market. On August 30th, 2025, Newcastle made him their record signing. 6-year contract, number 27 shirt. The pressure was on. His first few weeks were all about adaptation. New league, new teammates, new system. Howe eased him in, giving him minutes off the bench, letting him feel the pace of the Premier League. And then came September 13th, 2025, his first start, away from home. The kind of game where a new signing can either announce himself or disappear. Woltemade, he scored the winner. The Gallowgate end went absolutely mental. This wasn't just a debut goal, this was a statement, but he wasn't done. October 1st, 2025, Champions League debut against Union Saint-Gilloise. Another goal, first Newcastle player ever to score on both his Premier League and Champions League debuts. The stats don't lie. 4 goals in his first 5 starts. The boy wasn't just adapting, he was thriving. And Newcastle fans, they were starting to believe. Maybe, just maybe, they'd found someone even better than Isak. So let's talk about what makes Woltemade different. And I mean properly different, because this isn't just about goals. It's about what he brings to Eddie Howe's system that even Isak couldn't. First, the physical profile. At 6'6", Woltemade is an absolute giant. But here's the scary part. He doesn't play like a target man. He plays like a technical striker trapped in a center back's body. His first touch, silky. His movement, intelligent. His finishing, clinical. Defenders are used to dealing with tall strikers who just stand there waiting for crosses. Woltemade drops deep, drags them out of position, then spins and attacks the space they've just left. It's a nightmare to defend against. Let me break down his role in Howe's system. Newcastle play this high-intensity pressing game where the striker has to do serious defensive work. Woltemade does that brilliantly. But when they win the ball back, he's also the guy who can hold it up, bring others into play, or just turn and run at defenders. Against Nottingham Forest, watch how he receives the ball with his back to goal, shields it from 2 defenders, then lays it off before spinning into the box. That's not just strength, that's technical mastery. And then there's his aerial dominance. Newcastle love whipping in crosses from wide positions. With Woltemade in the box, it's basically a cheat code. He wins everything in the air. Bruno Guimaraes and Anthony Gordon must be loving life right now because every time they put a ball in the mixer, there's a 6'6" German attacking it like it owes him money. Stats-wise, he's been exceptional. 4 goals in 5 starts. That's a goal every 98 minutes. For context, Isak's rate last season was a goal every 118 minutes. Now, I'm not saying Woltemade is definitely better. It's early days. But the signs, they're very, very promising. What he still needs to work on is his link-up play in tighter spaces and his consistency over a full season. The Premier League is brutal. One good month doesn't make you world-class. But here's the scary truth that nobody's talking about. Woltemade might actually be a better fit for Newcastle's long-term project than Isak ever was. Isak is an incredible striker, don't get me wrong, but he's a finesse player. Woltemade brings power, presence, and that physical edge that lets Newcastle bully teams. In a league as intense as the Premier League, having a striker who can dominate physically while also being technically gifted, that's gold dust. For Newcastle fans, this feels like the start of something special. They've gone from panic mode after losing Isak to genuine excitement about what Woltemade can become. He's not just filling a gap, he's creating his own legacy. And if he keeps this form up, if he keeps scoring, keep dominating, then by the end of the season, we might not even be talking about Isak anymore. We'll be talking about how Newcastle somehow upgraded while spending half the money. That's the scary truth about Nick Woltemade. And the Premier League better start paying attention.